I started my companies based on a vision that I had when I was 18 years old. I was a Christian, but I did not know that God spoke to people through His Holy Spirit. And I was working for Government of Canada and taking soundings in a river next to a paper mill. And I was taking the soundings in the river to dredge out all the material that the paper mill dumped into the river. My hands would come out with a rash, I'd see dead fish floating around. And a voice spoke to me as I looked up at the mill that said, I want you to be part of the solution, not the problem. And that gave me the vision to become an environmental engineer. And I took a master's program and was the first graduating class at Western University with a master's in environmental engineering. Proceeded to work for a consulting firm, and we went back and cleaned up the pollution that the paper mills were causing in the rivers and lakes around Canada. So God gave me the fulfillment of that word that He spoke to me as an 18-year-old. I learned a lot, I traveled all over the world, and in 1995 started my own consulting and engineering company and became an environmental expert focused on cleaning up environmental problems here in Canada and in many countries around the world. A scientist once told me, and he was a Christian fellow, that he said for every man-made contaminant, God has a bacterial solution to return that contaminant to its created form. And I started to understand more and more how bacteria, living organisms, could be used to restore the creation to its intended purpose. God gave me an understanding on how to use different micronutrients to stimulate bacterial systems to do a better job to clean up pollution problems at a faster rate and with more environmental benefits and at a lower cost than what is currently available in the marketplace. We have been engaged by a large city to treat their sewage that's coming out of their wastewater plant. And the result is there's no more smell from the wastewater plant impacting the surrounding community. We have reduced the volume of sludge that comes from this plant that has to be taken to a landfill site. And we have reduced the operating cost of the wastewater plant in order to treat human waste that it receives. So we're blessing the creation, we're blessing the environment, and we're blessing the community with our initiative. So we are working with partners in Africa and in Asia and in South America to develop this technology and apply it to their systems.
We've partnered with UNICEF and our agent in Kenya, testing in rural latrines. Now, a major issue in Kenya, in these rural areas, is open defecation, where there's no suitable place to go to the washroom. So people just go in the bush or in a secluded area. That's a major problem for several reasons. First of all, for health, when it rains, the runoff goes into the streams and it impacts drinking water. The second thing is you have insects that land on the waste and then land on the people's food. A third overlooked issue with open defecation and lack of private latrines is it impacts girls' and women education. A lot of times girls will elect not to go to school because there's lack of privacy in the latrines. If someone follows them, they're vulnerable to attack or abuse. The people who were responsible for the test took detailed observations, and they found that where they used our product in the latrines, it reduced the odors very significantly, reduced the amount of flies and insects that were present in the latrine, and then also it reduced the amount of sludge in the latrine, and the data showed even better results than we anticipated.
We are working with engineers in Russia. We're working with engineers in Ghana. We're working with engineers in India. Many of them are not Christian, but we are working with them on the basis of kingdom values. We're not selling a product, we're providing a solution to the challenges that they are facing in their community. Everything we do day to day is an act of worship. We're called to do everything as we would unto the Lord. That has changed how we function as an office and as a business. And as I started to grow in the transformation movement, the role of impacting my industry, my community, and my nation became more clear to me that in my specific calling in environmental improvement, that was the ministry what God called me to in transformation. So we meet every Monday morning for prayer with our entire staff in our offices. And some of the staff are Christian and some are not. But there's an openness, there's a participation, and we've seen the spiritual climate change in the office. Even the unbelievers in our office are saying to us, this is our second family. And God is blessing us with provision as we extend out and take kingdom risks to advance His kingdom in our day-to-day business.